And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, The Princess Bride is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the dialogue, I love the plot, I like everything about the movie. Unfortunately, most of the games about The Princess Bride have not been nearly as good. I believe Game Salute has the license for them, and they just haven't been that excellent. So I went into this one with not so high hopes. This one is I Hate to Kill You, which is a line spoken in one of the best swords duels of all time, which is between Inigo Montoya and the Man in Black, where he says, I hate to kill you, and he says, I hate to die. So in this game, you're picking two of the four characters who were involved in sword duels in the movies. It's a fast two-player game. The box says 7 minutes. That's pretty close to the truth of it. Here's how it's played. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to decide who they want. They can take the Man in Black, Inigo Montoya, the Count, or Prince Humperdinck. And so they're going to take one of these cards. This card is to show how much life you have. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, flip it over, 1, and then you're dead. Each player is also going to be taking 6 dice, 2 reds, 2 yellows, and 2 oranges. Each die has swords on 3 of the sides. The yellows have 3 single swords, the orange have 2 single swords and a double sword, and the reds have 2 double swords and a single sword, so reds are the best. You will then get a bunch of cards here. These cards show your portrait on one side, so Inigo is the dedicated. And then you have a bluff card and a bunch of other cards. They are numbered with special abilities. The first thing each player will do, so they'll roll the dice. So let's say the Man in Black rolls these dice here. He has 4 swords, and Humperdinck rolls and has 5 swords. So Humperdinck is currently winning. It's 5-4. Each player then is going to play a card. So let's say Humperdinck plays this card, and the Man in Black plays this card. We reveal both cards. Humperdinck card is a bluff and goes back to his hand. Here, the Man in Black says opponent must re-roll a die of your choice. So he makes him re-roll this orange die, actually. So the opponent rolls the orange die, gets a 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. It's a tie. Nothing happens. Let's say he had rolled nothing here. If that had happened, then the Man in Black would have won. Prince Humperdinck would have taken a wound. And then the Man in Black, since he caused a wound, would have to get rid of a die that shows a sword. So he'd probably get rid of the orange dice since the red dice are better. And then you would start another round. If Prince Humperdinck had won, the same thing would have happened. The Man in Black would have taken a wound, and Humperdinck would have had to lose one of the dice that he had. And this will continue on until one player has taken the other player out. You can never go below 1 die, and each player, once they play a card, has to get rid of that card for the remainder of the game. And each player also has an 8 card, which lets you get some dice back. Like, for example, Inigo Montoya, swap active and discarded dice. He might have discarded 5 dice, and now he's down to 1, and all of a sudden he switches them, and he has 5 dice, and he's only discarded 1. Or he can return a discarded die to your hand. These happen after the battle, the 8s. So let's just take a look at the cards. Reroll one of your dice. Opponent discards a die that has a miss. Reroll any number of your dice. So that's kind of what Inigo Montoya has, is basically cards that let him reroll. Humperdinck everyone has that bluff card, which you get to keep, but if your opponent bluffs, you win the round. He has a couple of those. You're bluffing. Reroll opponent's dice, change the face of one of your dice. Opponent rerolls a die of your choice. Start next round with 2 red and 2 orange dice. The Man in Black has leap. Opponent discards a die with a miss. Reroll any number dice. You'll notice that these are pretty similar. The difference being is that there's different combinations for each of them. The Count can change 2 faces of an opponent's die. Can re-roll dice, change the face of one of your dice. Win this round. If there's a tie, they win the tie. Return 2 discarded dice to your hand. And so you can mix and match with 4 different characters. You can have several different matchups between the different characters. And the game literally is that quick, and you can start up another game. That's how you play. So that's the game, basically. Now, component quality is okay. I don't like turning cards to so many hit points have, because it's turned in relative to the person who has it, and it's always confusing. Wait, how many do you have? You have 3. Tokens would have been better. I would have just given each person 5 tokens and had you discard 1 as you took hits. The idea of when you hit the other person, you lose a die is super ham-fisted. Hey, well, it's a catch-up mechanism, but it does work well in this game. And I like the fact that it has to be one of the dice that shows a sword on it, so you might have to get rid of your red die. And each character has an 8 card that allows them to get at least some of their dice back. Are the characters balanced? I think so. Do you have to think really carefully about which card you're going to play? Not really. You look through the cards and you're going to be like, this one seems like the best one to use in this situation, or I've lost, I might as well play my bluffing card. You don't need to play the bluffing card that often, really. There's not going to be that many rounds in the game, and you have several cards, so it's not like, oh, I can't waste this card. You might as well waste those cards. You don't want to die too quickly in the game. So the game is kind of just a bluff, double bluff, roll the dice, see what happens. Luck certainly can have a factor in the game, but the game itself is only 7 minutes, so that's not really a problem. All of it kind of does come together in a very small package. So can it be Princess Bride? Sure. The pictures are fine. They're from the movie, and you can certainly say the quotes, and in fact, some of the quotes are on cards. In case you forget them, you can just read them on the cards. And there's also cards that tell you all the different things that your opponent has in his deck, so you can kind of sit there and think about it. But this game isn't that in-depth of a, now I could play this, and he could play that. No, I mean, there's a little bit of that. It's not that intense. But it does do the theme justice, and surprisingly, I found it a nice little filler for 2 players. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!